Good morning and welcome back. You're watching World News and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. 13 Polish nationals evacuated from Iran arrived in Warsaw on Thursday morning. The evacuees are chiefly the non-essential diplomatic staff of the Polish embassy in Tehran. Later on Thursday, 65 more Polish citizens are expected to be flown to Poland from the Jordanian capital Amman after they fled Israel. On Wednesday, the first 130 Poles returned home. The group was first escorted to Egypt and later flown to Poland alongside 24 citizens of other European countries, including Austria, France, Germany and Ukraine, also on board of the flight. The Polish authorities have arranged 2 evacuation convoys for the citizens who were in Israel as tourists or on short-term stays and got stuck in the country amid the latest escalation. Israel and Iran continue trading missile strikes for the 7th day in a row. Iran struck multiple sites in Israel, including a hospital in Beersheba, while Israel hit Iran's heavy water nuclear reactor in Iraq. Overall, at least 47 people are injured after Iran's latest missile barrage targeting several places in Israel. One of them was the Soroka hospital in Beersheba. The Iranian media, however, claimed the attack was aimed at Israel's military command and intelligence facilities located in the hospital's vicinity. The attack has been addressed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who warned that Iran would pay a heavy price for the strike. At the same time, Israel dispatched fighter jets to attack several sites in Iran, including the Iraq heavy water nuclear reactor. Israeli officials claim that the attack hit the reactor's core seal, which is a key component in plutonium production. The officials also said the airstrikes also hit a nuclear weapons development site in Natanz and several factories making components for ballistic missiles. The attacks came amid reports from CBS that Donald Trump has already approved plans to attack Iran. So far, the U.S. president did not make a final decision whether to strike the country. As stated by a senior source in U.S. intelligence, Trump is considering striking Fordo, an underground uranium enrichment facility. According to Donald Trump, Iranian officials expressed interest in meeting the American president at the White House to discuss the ongoing conflict between Tel Aviv and Tehran. The Iranian mission to the United Nations, however, took to social media to deny the claim and stated that, quote, no Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House.
They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House, so we'll see. I may do that.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your eyes.
I mean, they asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. They're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
With the U.S. possibly joining the Israeli attacks on Iran, American citizens remain critical of their country's potential involvement in military operations in the Middle East.
I think if you consider that World War I and World War II, we didn't call it that until we were already several years into the conflict. So we might already be in World War III according to the history books 20 years from now. I think anyone who says that they're not involved in it, I think they got to pay a little bit more attention to it and hope that we stay out and hope that this can de-escalate as soon as possible.
I just think it's 2 unpredictable regimes fighting in the Middle East, and it's their war. It's not our war. And I hope it doesn't become our war.
I don't know, I'm kind of used to expensive gas. I don't think we need to blow up the whole country to have cheap gas.
Despite a Russia-Iran partnership, Moscow will not intervene in defense of Tehran, according to Denis Kolesnik from the Vienna-based think tank MENA Research Center.
In January of this year, there was a strategic partnership signed between Iran and Russia. But unlike the strategic partnership that was signed between Russia and North Korea, the strategic partnership between Russia and Iran doesn't have any mutual defense clause, which means the Russians are not obliged to help Iran by military means or to get involved into this conflict. Moreover, Russians all Russian, let's say, efforts are going to their conflict against Ukraine, to their war against Ukraine. So, and we've seen, I guess, Vladimir Putin, he was saying that, I cannot quote you exactly, but it was obvious that there was no discussions about any Russian involvement in this war. So I guess for Iran is more or less left alone, at least with regard to the, let's say, kinetic operations. And also there are some reports, definitely impossible to independently verify, that Khomeini has been hiding in a bunker with his family, and that newly appointed head of Pasdaran, Mohammad Pakpur, has the green light to carry out and to take decisions for the country. But I mean, we cannot verify this.
Speaking from the sidelines of the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, Vladimir Putin made several comments about the war in Ukraine and NATO. Among the subjects raised by the Russian president was a possible meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, German Taurus missiles, and NATO's rise in defense spending.
Putin said he is ready to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky if Kyiv and its Western allies are willing to continue negotiations. The Russian president went on to say that the meeting would only take place in the final phase of negotiations. At the same time, Putin reiterated his claim that the Ukrainian president lost legitimacy when his term ended last year. Putin also said that Germany would be directly involved in the war if it supplied Taurus missiles to Kyiv. At the same time, the Russian president claimed the missiles would not stop the Russian advance along the entire front line. On top of that, Putin mentioned NATO's rearmament plans, which he described as lies spread by Western politicians to fool taxpayers into spending more on defense. At the same time, the Russian leader claimed that Moscow posed no threat to NATO and does not regard West's rearmament as a threat to the Russian Federation.
The Czech Republic's ruling coalition has weathered a no-confidence vote that had been put forth by the opposition in the wake of a Bitcoin scandal that prompted the justice minister's resignation at the end of May.
The motion fell flat as a mere 94 MPs backed the vote, with 101 needed to dissolve the government. With the vote, the opposition aimed to capitalize on the recent scandal ahead of parliamentary elections in October. Last month, the government led by center-right politician Petr Fiala had its foundations shaken after the Justice Ministry accepted a €40 million Bitcoin donation from a convicted drug trafficker, stoking suspicions of money laundering. This led to the country's Justice Minister Pavel Blažek tendering his resignation, which was welcomed by the Prime Minister.
So let's move to Romania. Romania could have a new coalition on Thursday, according to Cristian Tudor Bacanu, former Romanian MP from the National Liberal Party. After nearly a month of negotiations, 4 pro-European parties in Romania are about to reach an agreement on forming a new government.
The coalition is broad, and it means that we have the Renew Party in Romania, which is USR. We have the Social Democrats, we have the National Liberal Party, which is my party, which is a member of the EPP family, and we have the Hungarian minority and the ethnic minorities as well. So basically, it will be a government that will have a very tough job ahead of us. We have quite an amount of budgetary deficit and commercial deficit, and we need to fix that. And for that, you need a broad coalition. The election of the new president basically unified the views of the parties. Of course, there are differences, and for example, from the Social Democrats are very, very tough negotiators. It's good that we have this coalition, and I think that it wouldn't be possible without the new president.
From Romania, let's move to Hungary. A new poll shows Viktor Orban could lose power in Hungary. The country's main opposition party, TISA, has a 15-point lead over Prime Minister Orban's Fidesz. The gap between the parties is widening ahead of next year's parliamentary election.
The center-right TISA party, led by Péter Magyar, poses the biggest political challenge to nationalist Viktor Orban's 15-year rule as his government faces economic difficulties. Inflation in Hungary was among the highest in the European Union, peaking at 5.7% in January and February, according to Eurostat. The threat of steep US tariffs on EU imports also looms large over Hungary's recovery prospects. Magyar's party, which was only launched last year, has the support of 51% of voters who say they have decided whom to back, while 36% say they would vote for Fidesz, according to a survey by pollster Median published on Wednesday by local news weekly HVG. A majority of those polled say they expected TISA to win the next parliamentary election scheduled for April 2026.
In an exclusive interview with TVP World, Lord Coker, the British Minister of State for Defence, said he's hopeful and that he expects to have a new defence agreement signed between the UK and Poland. He also touched on the matter of nuclear deterrence sharing as part of NATO.
Well, what we're looking forward to is signing a new defence agreement before the end of the year. That's been negotiated and discussed, and it will contain all sorts of military options. But it's subject to negotiation and subject to agreement. But we're hopeful and expect that by the end of the year there'll be a new agreement signed between our two governments.
What about nuclear deterrence? Is that something that will be included?
Well, the nuclear deterrent, the nuclear deterrent, as you know, is something that the UK has. It shares that with NATO, although I would stress that the use of that remains an independent decision for the United Kingdom. But we've always said the strategic deterrent is there to act as a deterrent at the most strategic level. And we, of course, hope that the fact that there is a deterrent means that it will never be used.
Tonight, Warsaw's Grand Theatre Polish National Opera brings the 2024 artistic season to a close with a powerful finale with Prometheus. TVP World's reporter Karolina Szapland was there and has more.
Warsaw's Teatr Wielki, Polish National Opera, brings the 2024-2025 artistic season to a close with a bold new ballet, Prometheus.
It's a ballet devised by one of Poland's most acclaimed choreographers, Krzysztof Pastor, the director of the Polish National Ballet.
For me, what is very fascinating in this myth of Prometheus is the paradox of fire, and the fire which is bringing the progress and very important for the humanity to develop, but also fire as a medium of destruction. So this is the paradox we deal also at the present days. And actually the idea for Prometheus, it came when I was working in Australia, and there was this incredible bushfire, which was basically unstoppable.
Set to the music of Philip Glass, including movements from his 11th Symphony, interwoven with his piano piece Mad Rush, the production culminates in Mozart's haunting Requiem.
What touches me the most in this music, the first part, is that it's sometimes very soft and very intimate, but also it has this power in it. So I think that I can find it also in my movements, in my performance.
Among the lead performers is Patryk Walczak, for whom Prometheus is truly poignant as it marks the end of his artistic career.
This role, Prometheus, means a lot for me because it's my last role as a ballet dancer. And it's very symbolic as I bring fire, which is again symbolic, very, because it brings progress but also destruction. So it's a bit like my career, which is very beautiful but at the same time very hard and destructive.
Though dark and brooding, Prometheus brings a message of redemption and resilience. It's a fitting finale for the artistic season and a true meditation on the power of humanity. For TVP World, I'm Karolina Szapland.
What better way to close this news service with a beautiful report on culture. Thank you so much for joining. This would be all for now. I'm Klaudia Czermińska, but please do stay tuned because we're back in just a moment.